Her, her research involved agroforest, agroecology, ecosystem, service provision, bioeconomy, and policy, among other aspects. She is the editor of 4 books in prestigious publishers as Cab International, Springer, or Francis Dodds. She has over 100 paper references in the Web of Science database and has collaboration with more than 100 research. Naturally, this is a very brief, Rosa. Thank you very much for your leadership, and please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for all attendees.
Thank you very much, Ladislao. Can you confirm that you are seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, and I would like to say thank you very much to my colleagues, Kiro and Ladislao, for being always there, and I'm thinking that I could be one of the speakers today in this relevant for me Global Research Alliance series of webinars associated with the Cropland Research Group. My talk would be agroecology, agroforestry, bioeconomy, and policy balancing, climate change, mostly focused on the European perspective on what is doing, what is done now, what is being doing by the European Commission just to foster more sustainability across the different European countries. Well, the studies will be based in my slides will be based mainly in the Agroecology for You project, complemented with the findings that were found in Afinet and Agroforestry for You. My presentation will be
Sorry to
about,
interrupt. I think, Rosa, we can, you're showing a different screen. We don't see the slides. We see a different screen of yours.
you see the screen of us.
I see in your screen there's Zoom, but I don't see your slides. Yes, now we see your slides. Agroecology, agroforestry. Yep, all good.
I move down, and now you see it also. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I will start with an introduction about what we do. Also, what is related for agroecology and for agroforestry, we always have to have a definition if we want to make policymakers from a research point of view to understand what are the ways to move forward, taking into account the last research findings. In Europe, we have different aspects, different type of, well, we have a common agricultural policy that has different pillars. The first one is more associated with productivity. The second one, the pillar 2, is associated with the environment. And nowadays, we have a third pillar that is more associated with the social aspects. So, okay, with regard to the introduction, the definition that we have has been defined by a large group of people that has been met, researchers, policymakers, administration, retailers, farmers, in a group that is called SCAR Agroecology, which is the Standard Committee for Agroecology that was founded in 2022, so quite recently. And the definition for them is that for agroecology is the dynamic and holistic approach to agriculture, considered at the same time as science, a set of practices, and a socio-political movement aimed at supporting the transition of agri-food systems towards more sustainable practices. It aims also at connecting science, practice, and society, and to trigger the adoption of a set of policies aimed at sustainable agricultural practices. Well, this is a complex definition that has been done just to make to try to gather all the sensibilities of everybody when agroecology, which has a strong social movement, is behind. But we have to be a bit more pragmatic and just to try to translate it into support of this type of sustainable practice like agroecology. And for the same SCAR Agroecology working group, the agroecology has a kind of 2 levels: the level of the agroecosystem level and the level of food system. The first one is about incremental, the second one is about transformational. That's important because in the first one is about the landscape, it's about the farming system itself. But the last one, the second one, is about the connectivity of the farmer with the society, especially with the consumers and all the ecosystem services that the different agroecosystems can produce. Well, the current CAP period is based on the sustainability development goals. You have there three goals that are productive, environmental, and social. So linked directly with the sustainable development goals, but it has also be based on different type of strategies that you can find in the internet for the European Union. From the more economical one, the bioeconomy and circular economy, for those ones that are related more with the farmers, farm to fork, climate strategy, climate change strategy, biodiversity, or even the forest strategy, and also the ones, the strategies that are associated with the social aspects, the rural revival. And if we compare the objectives of the CAP and we compare it with the elements that form part of the agroecology defined by the FAO, they are quite similar. Well, when I try to see and evaluate how the current CAP policy and this exercise can be done in any country all over the world is promoting agroecology, we have to provide a clear definition for that. So we produce two, which one, the first one is agroecology ecosystem-based definition linked to the SCAR agroecology definition, which is agroecology ecosystem level definition, which is this agricultural, spatial, and temporary biodiversity preservation. So at the end, it's a nature-based solution associated with the use of biodiversity linked to spatial and temporal aspects. The use and integration of multiple scales to increase resources and use efficiency while improving multiple scale ecosystem services delivery. But we have the other component, the component of the food system, the social based definition. And then we will have there as a kind of dynamic, social dynamic construction within a community and among communities, including based on horizontal extended processes and a continuous learning among different stakeholders, meaning producers, processors, retailers, advisors, researchers, and consumers aiming at implementing the agroecology main principles and elements. So, in a practical way, just making this kind of skeleton of what we interpret and what we search, the European Commission um, a common agricultural policy that can be used in another policies, and we are trying to do in different countries along across Europe and the world, is the biodiversity temporal use. We can translate that with the crop rotation, but also the livestock rotation, understanding that the livestock rotation is associated with the land connectivity, while the crop rotation is about to improve the use of water preservation, nutrient use, and improve the soil health. But if we move for the spatial use, we are speaking about another thing. One is crop diversification. When we use woody perennials, we are speaking about agroforestry. Of course, livestock diversification is also a key issue, and the soil protection associated with the different spatial land uses. There you have the different type of aspects that are associated with them in concrete with soil protection, about soil physical, chemical, and biological health. Well, if we move forward on the crop rotation, we can see that there are some annual soil rotations, long-term soil rotations that integrates woody perennials, so it's agroforestry, and intermediate crop rotations where you have more than two crops. That's the idea that we search. We try to see how what was the extent of the crop rotation use across Europe. So we have a statistics that is taking around 1 to 2 million points across Europe, and that is taking every 3 years. So we have the land use on that, and we see how coming from barley crops as a start point, what was the next crop if as a sorry as a cereal. So when you see yellow, it means that it is a rotation of the same cereal all over time. And we you see another color means that there is a kind of combination on another crop. Because we see a lot of yellows, it means that crop rotation is not an agroecology practices that is used at a very large extent in Europe, but is mostly used in those areas that are more less resilient to climate change, which is the Mediterranean area, which is in the south part of Europe. Well, when I talk about livestock rotation, we are thinking on rotation between different land uses like grassland and cereals, high quality and low quality grass, but also long rotations like the ones that are in Spain that can take more than 800 kilometers walking across Spain in the different pathways that are nowadays protected, not extensively used by foot, but with trucks, and that has been used in Europe and in Spain for centuries. When we speak about the crop and livestock diversification, we speak about crop diversification by using different varieties, different herbaceous species, mosaics of crops using woody perennials, like, for example, agroforestry, or the livestock diversification, where you mix uh, more the feed demanding livestock, like, for example, the, the dairy cows, or the less demanding, the meat cows, like in the picture, or we can even mix species to increase the use of resources that are available at landscape level. Well, when we see how crop diversification is extended in Europe, in this Lucas map, they speak about polycultives. So we see that the lowest one is the one that's in pink, and we see a lot of pinks in the different years where this spatial analysis and that is Lucas, the land use analysis of the European Commission is carried out. So there is a lot of I used to see things in positive, but that means that there is a lot of possibilities to increase and improve the use of this agroecological practice. When we think about the biodiversity spatial protection, we can speak about soil protection. That could be physical or chemical. Physical could be no tillage, permanent use of permanent crops, or minimum tillage. And from a chemical point of view, we are thinking about using organic amendments, organic fertilization that is promoted in the European Union nowadays through the compulsory performance for each farmer of a fertilization plan that provides a large uh, prevalence to the organic fertilization. Try not to use pesticides and not to use chemicals, or at least reduce the consumption as much as possible. Well, from a social point of view, let's say that we have three main pillars. The first one is the horizontal knowledge sharing between different type of stakeholders, that is objective based. The collaboration among peers and within stakeholders types, and the employment of short value chains to reduce the use of different types um, the different types of energy associated with the transport. Well, let's see and analyze what is doing the European Commission, taking into account these large definitions that I provided you, and that you can do in the different policies that you have in the CAP to know if you are using agroforestry, agroecology, or is enough promoted across the globe. Well, I will not be in detail, but because this will be available in the web page, I just would like to share you to say you that for any type of farm that is in Europe, is compulsory to fulfill what is named as a guide, which is the standard of food, agriculture, and environment conditions of land, and also the SMR, which are the statutory management requirements. In there are things that are that you have to fulfill in any case. For example, try to not to ban or burning arable stubble, avoid biossoil or permanent grassland maintenance. With regard to water protection, against pollution caused by nitrates, habitat protection, wild birds, etc., etc. You have there the list. I will not go through it, but we try to identify it with the agroecological biodiversity type that we have mentioned, and there's the social policy, the soil protection, sorry, the crop rotation and the crop diversification that can be associated with the different statutory regulations that are compulsory if you want to receive the support from the European Commission. For the social aspect, we have also some type of regulatory mandatory aspects for our farmers. But again, if you want to receive money, so it's an involuntary basis. Within the Pillar 1, which is completely supported by the European Commission headquarters, not funded by the countries, in the last CAP, in the last Common Agricultural Policy, they developed a set of CAP eco schemes where they have different areas. The areas are associated with health, associated with animal health, but also human health, habitats protection, and of course with climate change. And there we can see that the promotion of agroecology associated with this in the different aspects that we mentioned before can be aligned. Okay. For example, for the crop rotation, eco-scheme topics associated with high nature value farming, IPM, agroecology, etc., can be associated. You have here the scheme name, mostly with the crop rotation and the diversification, and the letters are the type of environment aspects that are promoted, either biodiverse areas, or avoiding water leaching, and the linkages with greenhouse gases emissions, increasing soil organic matter, so increasing soil capacity of climate change mitigation. For the crop diversification, you have all of them there. Maybe one of the most relevant ones are the cover crops or the buffer strips, which are very important in the west part of Europe, including Ireland and France, with these hedgerows that they have to avoid soil losses and the soil losses of soil organic matter losses due to the wind erosion they have. So there is a kind of alignment that you see with the eco scheme topic, the eco scheme name, and the different type of sectors that they improve, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, that you have defined here. Okay. So if we see how was the promotion or the intention of promotion by most of the CAPs that are fostered at national level, you can see that there are countries even with 12 interventions associated with crop rotation, but there are some of them that are with zero. That is because when the starting point it is not, so they have the capacity to increase that number up to 2027, but at the beginning they did not select it. For livestock, it's the same. Well, it's important to have animal welfare, try to have them a connectivity with open areas. You know that when we do the analysis of the LCA associated with the carbon footprint, if the animal is outside, they have a less impact attending on the IPCC comments, 10 times less than when they are indoors. And besides that, the storage of manure is smaller, so the NEH, the ammonium volatilization is much lower, either the methane. Well, you can see here that the promotion of the eco scheme associated with the eco schemes the number of interventions is much lower than the ones associated with the crops. Well, with regard to soil protection, what's protected in enhanced is mostly carbon farming, precision farming, improvement of the nutrient management, all of them associated with the greenhouse gases emission. For example, reducing the nutrient inputs will reduce the greenhouse gases emissions, that all of us know that. And the different techniques that we have here can help with that, conservation agriculture, etc. Here we have what are the interventions that are the number of interventions that are promoted by the European Commission member states. So the nations of the European Commission, the 27 because UK left us across Europe. If we think in soil organic matter retention, it's few countries promote. Some of them, the pesticides reduction is more in the north, and the soil pesticides reduction is more in the east part of Europe. Well, but the European Commission just also take into account a kind of holistic approach, which I think is important. The use of techniques that reduces the greenhouse gases emissions and promotes the mitigation, taking into account the farm and the landscape level. So here we can see the conversion to organic farming, the maintenance of organic farming, the use of organic farming in different type of practices and standards. Again, the reduction of fertilizer use in the high nature value farms that are protected. Establishment of agroforests is a main tool to reduce to increase carbon sequestration or mitigate climate change, the line fallow, or the semi-natural habitat creation and enhancement in the different farm systems. Well, in here, we go to the pillar two, which is the difference between the pillar one and the pillar two is that the pillar one is completely paid by the European Commission. It's called direct payments. But the pillar two is, let's say, is paid in different proportions by the member states and the European Commission. So the payment to the farmers is shared between the countries and the European Commission. That's known as a pillar two. Again, in here we have the climate change. The types of interventions that are promoted are environment, climate related, and other management commitments, and also the landscape level associated with the habitats protection. It's quite similar to the first one, but in this case, the measures are more specific to each country because the sharing of the payment I mentioned before. So in here, we can see what are the operation promotions or the intervention promotions associated with crop rotation. And we can see red means not used, but there are quite a few regions that try to increase or promote the use of rotations with legumes to what the reasons behind the countries, European Union countries, says explains they use it because water quality, fertilization improvement, soil improvements for health and sustainability. Forget about the measures because this is something that is just very political. And the ones that are used associated with the winter catch crops are the ones that are in green, as you can see. Again, the reasons are similar that the ones for using measurements. That was in the former CAP from 2014-2020. For the 2023-27, you can see the ones that promote crop rotation are quite a lot within this pillar two, the one that is shared between them. With regard to crop diversification, it was quite used across all Europe. It's called polyculture and agroforestry was quite open. We can see that still the pink is the zero, there are no pinks. So the intervention promoting crop diversification are quite extended across Europe, with some regions working at much with more interventions or with less intervention. With regard to livestock, the ones that promote animal welfare are the ones that are not in pink, so it's quite okay. But the ones that promote livestock grazing is very reduced, okay, which is a bit of bad news because this means that for our accountability of the greenhouse gas emissions, they will account as if they are in the stables, and that's a concern. With regard to soil protection, you can see that those ones that are associated with soil chemical protection amendments are in the south. Also, the ones that are trying to protect against pesticides is quite promoted in Spain, also in France areas that has a lot of concerns about these use. And the one that makes soil chemical protection fertilizers, so the use mostly of organic fertilizers are also in the south and the central part of Europe. For the habitat protection, the countries, the member states are also, again, in pink, is they don't have interventions at the beginning of the period. They can use it. This is the interventions that compensate the lack of production in areas with specific constraints. We can see that is in the South and Central Europe. The ones that face the Natura 2000, which are very specific areas where our habitats are being protected. We can see that there are some countries that are protecting it, and the ones that areas with natural constraints, not the specific constraints, but natural constraints, are also promoted across. Well, just to end, I will speak about the social. Remember that we have to speak about measures or interventions that are associated with the horizontal knowledge sharing among different types of stakeholders, collaboration among peers, and short value chain. Well, the different type of rural development interventions, so the pillar two that are paid between the Commission and the member states, are fostering investments, rural employment tools, and knowledge exchange. As you can see, they can be aligned with these aspects that are associated with our economy. Short value chains, collaboration among peers, and sharing knowledge among peers. Another aspect. Well, the rural development interventions are mainly associated with the risk management tools, but also with farmers and directly to this exchange, etc., etc. Cooperation among farmers is very important because we see there a better use of the resources and the optimization of the use of the resources, and of course, knowledge is also promoted. Well, we can see that there are 253 interventions mentioned about social aspects in across Europe. So it would be quite difficult to make the maps. But here, I just want to mention that rules associated with farmers are associated with new, small, and young farms. Also, producer organizations and networks receive 23 interventions, which means payment. 30 risk management tools are promoted. The cooperation is promoted in 20 interventions, taking into account the effective collective of cooperation to use different machinery, etc., and in a smart village, and 8 knowledge exchange and dissemination of information associated with education, but also with operational groups. We can see also that we have 20 value chains. I will be more focused on value chains in my in my in my in my in my in my presentation. In here you have in the top the risk management tools where they are promoted, also the cooperation of projects and collective investments. We can see that there are more in the west part of Europe, which is one of the parts of that is more productive. The east part of Europe is more associated with producer organizations and networking. These countries come from the former communism system in the past, and then the system is different, so they try to do a different thing, and also operational groups, which are a very interesting tool because it allows the researchers and the farmers to ask for money to improve their own farms that can be used as demo sites for other farmers. Well, if we can see also the rural development interventions associated with, besides this, the risk management, cooperation knowledge, the ones associated with land management, environment, investment, value chain sectors, and livestock. The most relevant ones are more associated with land management. The interventions associated with environment are 20 for environment investments, fertilization 2, 17 for water. We have a strong problem with water associated with climate change, and the use of livestock, reuse of livestock residues currently only gets 1. In regard to the investment, agriculture 12, rural or non-agriculture 19. We can see here what is the share between of the different interventions, and they expect to have an improvement of 7% of the water efficiency. The investments are agriculture and non-agriculture, and it is expected to have 12% of quality of life improvement. Also. Here you have the maps with non-agricultural investment in rural areas. Germany and the West Eastern countries is important for them, and rural agricultural investments is more in the south, but a lot of very promoted in Greece. Here, these are the management of water sets, and this normally is mostly associated with the south of Spain And Italy, as you know, we are the ones that have the largest problem with climate change, more sensible to that one. And environment investments are all over. Well, with regard to the livestock, we can see that for land management is seven on agroforestry and forestry. So 20% of interventions are associated with forestry and agroforestry. The value chain are six with food quality, seven with value chain, six with bioeconomy, and one with circular economy. And here you have the graph, the share of the different distribution of the aids given to them. Here you can see the map of the distribution of the different interventions per member state. This is the forest interventions. Here you have the short value chains that are more promoted on the left. Here you have the smart villages in the southeast and the same with the quality investment. Well, in Europe, we are developing also, there is a development also of what we call thematic networks that help policymakers to foster first of all, the policies, and secondly, the examples and the knowledge among the different stakeholders. One of these is Agroforestry for You, that has involved more than 1,500 stakeholders across Europe, where we get a lot of information to develop a knowledge cloud platform, an advisory system as a way to spread the knowledge that is already existing from the researchers and the good practices of the farmers, but also the business models are relevant. So Afinet comes, Agroforestry for EU has the objective to promote European agroforestry through the development of a multi-actor interactive and innovation-driven expanded agroforestry network. We start in Afinet because this is a thematic network that ended in 2019, where farmers asked a lot, we were asking farmers about what are the main needs they have about knowledge, and besides the ones that are associated with agroecosystem, fertilization, how to put a tree, etc., for agroforestry, how to combine species, etc., they asked a lot about the value chain development. That is the reason behind agroforestry for you. And the idea is to share successful practices, experience, research knowledge that exists already to develop new cost-effective practices, business models, and agroforestry extension services. Well, the technical needs that they said, that they tell us that was important in the Atlantic and Mediterranean area. I will be focused in the Atlantic Mediterranean area of Europe because we have it for boreal and continental, but because of lack of time, we can see that the most important one, which was planting the right tree in the right place when planting our forestry system. From an economic point of view, the one that was most voted by all stakeholders were the decision, the farming economic value, decision support group. But also they need research and new knowledge on bioeconomy products on shrubs and trees, like for example, getting from the bark of the trees without making damage to the trees, some products that can be used in cosmetic or medicine and plants that can, if they grow up under the tree, they get more active principles. These kind of things they are very interested in. With regard to the educational needs, they ask for two very relevant for them. One is the lesson modules, to have a kind of a module that is based on the content of agroforestry to be online and that everybody can share with examples from all over Europe. That is a tool that is going to be developed by Agroforestry for you this year. Also, a map of agroforestry farms. And with regard to the policy needs, they ask for the inventory of problems for each region and how that was it solved, and the fact sheets, just trying to make easier their wording, their needs to the policy makers done at a regional level. As I mentioned, Agroforestry for You also tried to develop an advisory system to spread the knowledge of these sustainable farming systems like agroforestry, but also agroecology. And it's based on the SECRA modules that were developed by the EUFRAS, which is the European Union Association of Advisory Systems. Here you can see all the modules they did. The idea for agroforestry was to develop the ones that were more needed for the stakeholders, therefore more useful to foster agroforestry. And the ones that were selected by all the countries that you have here, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Ireland, Italy, Spain, because there's two regions, France, Greece, Finland, Germany, and Slovakia, were advising and supporting business in strategic issues and shaping innovation processes, supporting networks, which will be developed and also will help to contextualize agroforestry advisory modules. But we also asked the stakeholders, 1,500 stakeholders all over Europe, what were the main value chains, just to try to see how can we shorten them to reduce the emissions associated with transport. And here you can see that for the Atlantic region, we will have ones, another different for the Mediterranean and for the continental. But there are some of them that are common to them, like, for example, beef livestock, nuts, or wine and apple, among others. In here, what we did was an exercise to know how big are the value chains and how they are moving. And you can see flags of the different countries that say, okay, we are using this, we need energy for this. And the idea is to produce a kind of a life cycle assessment associated with the carbon footprint in the different countries to compare and benchmark these all of aspects. In here, you have different colors because there are inputs and outputs, but some inputs are produced within the farm, then they have a pink color, the blue color, the yellow color is about inputs in the farm that are bought outside of the farm, and the blue color is about outputs, what they say, what when it is sold, the produce sold directly by the farmers, or if they need retailers and then transport and so that will be more in big. It's not based only in the products directly produced by the farm, but also in other type of products that the farm has, like for example, cultural heritage or school farms, leisure activities, etc. Well, and with all of these ideas to design a strategic business plan, we will design a decision support tool that is a strategic business plan that will take into account production plan, marketing plan, organization plan, and financial plan at long term. Because the farmers will have to explain them just to be more sustainable, you have to do this. But this has to make sense within the long term strategy of the farmer. They have to understand the whole picture, not just to say, do this. Okay, that's the idea. And this will be connected with the local business model canvas where that will be produced for 33 ideal types of farms across Europe, where each farmer can put their specific conditions and a result of a business models and a strategic plan, a long-term strategic plan would be produced. So as a conclusions, well, I like to say that promoting sustainable farming systems should consider different perspectives. Otherwise, that is the answer to the question, why agroforestry is not used? Why agroecology is not standard? And why are we using intensive farming systems, even if they cause some concerns with the climate change? Well, the perspectives are knowledge sharing, knowledge production, research production, knowing about good practices that are already known by farmers, the development of advisory systems, the development of long-term strategies for the farmers, and specific business plans for the farmers. Also, we have to take into account the environment and social economic context because a good aspect, a good tool or a good management activity could be excellent for Spain, but awful for Finland, for example. Agroforestry for you, the project will provide these. We will try to provide these by developing a knowledge cloud and advisory modules related with the knowledge needs and advisory needs, knowledge, and a business decision support tool that will be available at the end of this year. Okay, these are the projects that we are involved in. Are related with most of the things that we mentioned, just in case you have a more much more interest on knowing about this. Maybe the last two I want to mention is soil that is about to understand how the soil that is below the plowing area is affected and can store a carbon for a long period of time, or green crop that tries to upscale with cooperatives, excellent and good agroecological and agroforestry practice, but also digital practices across Europe, and it will be done in collaboration with China. So thank you very much indeed. If you well, I left the web page of the agroforestry for you because the decision support tool will be available there. So if you have any questions, comments, I will be more than happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rosa. It's so amazing presentation, and the amount of work done and cooperation and the amazing set of data that can bring a lot of inputs to policy, to research, to cooperation, and really you appreciate very much your work, your dedication, and also this presentation that I believe that is something that make a lot of difference. There are a lot of data available. This will be available in the website of JRA, and so people that can address, see close, and also to use this as a support to start planning new research projects, to think about challenging cooperation, how things are moving in European Union countries. That is something that make a lot of difference to the present and mainly to the future. We are very thankful for your dedication, this presentation, and I am very satisfied with this. And it's a privilege to work with you in JRA, in particularly in cropland research group. I didn't see until now any question, but if you agree, please, Rosa, may I start to make some. It's a very general question. Certainly, what you made here is so wide overview and giving statements as policies, that decision that are made in the European Union countries that can make a lot of difference. But every time people ask about the crops productivity, food costs production in this system, and then do you know is not this is a very basic question that you address certainly here with in different aspects, but because this is a concern worldwide about the cost, about inflation of food. If you make a comment, I thank you. While people, please, if you have any question, Chista, if it is possible, the participants make by their own phone question, or only using the question ask icon?
Yeah, so if anyone has a question, you can put it through the Q&A function in the very bottom, and we
Okay.
can address that. But if any questions you can think of after the webinar, that is also perfectly fine. You see Rosa's email on the screen right now, or so you can send through to her, right? Or to the secretariat, and then we can to the GRA secretariat email, and we can pass it on to the presenter to respond. So yeah, open to receiving questions either now or after the webinar.
Okay, thank you, Chista. Please, Rosa.
Yes. With regard to your question, of course, when we think in sustainability, taking into account what is mentioned by the United Nations, we have to think in three main pillars: the social, the economic, and the environment. Economic is important. I mean, farmers lives on their own farms, and they have to live from them. So I know, or we all know, that they are the first ones that because of the huge amount of land they are using, the ones that are more associated with potential problems linked to greenhouse gases emissions, to climate change issues. But it doesn't mean that they have to be punished or they have to change their way of farming without the help of the main beneficiaries of the different ecosystem services that they produce. So for me, I think is the society the main beneficiary of what they are doing. If they do things in some way, we have that more health. Our soils are more can be used for future generations. We have more health because we have better water quality. Our products has less endocrine disruptive molecules which cause health problems. So there is more than having a product, but at the same time they have to be from their farm, and then there is a kind of compromise there uh, between what you do, how is how the how are the ecosystem services produced, and try to maximize and optimize them. For example, I can put an example of my area. We are the most fire area of Europe. The main concern is land abandonment. There's no people, there are no farmers there. That is a very big problem. The ones that stay there, you cannot say them, oh, you have to take care of all the land because you are a forest owner, you have to take and you have to pay, etc. No, it's all of us, the ones that have the responsibility of taking care of the environment. Because the environment is not only producing food, it's producing more things. If one of the strategies that we are following up in agroforestry for you is to take this use of the food some way. So the idea is quite simple. Just for using agroforestry, if we are able to produce some products that could be cosmetic, that could be any kind of molecules that could be used in industry, etc., the farmer will have more revenues, not only for the maize that they are producing of the wheat, but also for the rest of the plants, in this case of the tree. But at the same time, so this is good for them. They increase they increase two things: the productivity and ecosystem services, but reduce also their vulnerability to changing markets. So we have to to explain the end users, which are the consumers that are usually not aware at all about how to run a farm, that they have to buy if they want the ecosystem services benefit, they have to buy the products that are produced in a certain with a certain time of ecosystem of farming system, using agroecological and agroforestry practices, for example. In our case, we have horses that are able to feed on the most important shrub type, which is Ulex, that creates a lot of danger with fires. If we eat more horses than cows that usually are not consuming a shrubby species, then it's a win-win situation because farmers have the feed for free, and we have a better health because the feed is for free there. But consumers are usually not aware of this aspect. So I think there has to be a better understanding between farming systems and the consumer. And this is what the Agroforestry for You project is promoting, but also considering, of course, the economic return they get from ecosystem services, including the products production, but also environment, climate, carbon credits, for example, biodiversity enhancement. All of this, taking this into account, the decision to put support to that we are going to create will optimize the different management practices that we have with the different ecosystem service products that will be produced. And then he can decide if I do this technique, I produce all of these that will give me return if the economic return, if the consumers are aware of what they are, of the way they are, that the farmers are running farming means more health for them. That's the.
No, excellent, Rosa. Certainly, these are very important aspects that you need probably more communication, also more interaction between the people that live in the city and the urban and rural areas, and this to be to evolve that you have only one planet. You must take care of it. If not, you'll be in big trouble. And this is what you this strategy, this prioritization, agroecology, agroforestry. This is a very, very important subject that in different parts in the world are able to be conducted. Naturally, in a country like I live, that is like a very large areas that you have a very commercial production. Also, the concern and also the impact of climate change in our agriculture is growing with changing water for regime, increasing a lot of temperature with hot waves that create a lot of trouble, and then also that you must address and to have different strategies. And one of them is this, like agroforest, to have shadow to animal to. This is not only animal comfort; it's animal survival and to maintain productivity. Then these are aspects that must be give call attention of farmers to the present and near future. This is aspect that is different only to think about soil carbon sequestration, that you must reduce greenhouse gas emission. That is correct, but much more than that. That is to have a resilient agriculture. This is what you bring to us is in this direction. That is a term that are being used in Brazil. I didn't see any question here, but if you agree, I would like to make another comment. For example, sorry for this specific question regarding my own country. You have a very strong biological nitrogen fixation program, mainly to leguminous, particularly to soybean. That's something that's very beneficial to avoiding use of industrial nitrogen fertilizer, fossil fuel origin, and also that it giving back, avoid costs of fertilizers. You must make this bacteria inoculation with resolving and in the seed. That is much less the cost, and they also avoid greenhouse gas emission, mainly N2O. This is very well established here. There are a lot of economic and environment positive impact. Uh, you, at least from my knowledge, I didn't see much in Europe about this specific subject. I don't know if I am is not correct my perception, my knowledge about this, or if you use naturally leguminous that are able to do this without this kind of inoculation seed, or you have so more biodiversity in some situation that in this agroecology or agroforest is not necessary to use this kind of strategy. Please.
Well, it depends on the part of Europe where you are. If you are in the south of Europe, for example, in the most relevant agroforestry system in Europe, which is the Vegeso Montado, they have dozens of different natural legumes there that are growing, maintaining this in a natural way. So we are lucky with that because these are systems that have been running for the last 2,000 of years at least. So that's great that we can say a climatic system that it takes in. I mean, that includes the man as part of the system because it has to be managed in certain way to maintain and keep this biodiversity. So that is. I mean, we have areas where are natural. We have areas that are very degraded. I mean, there are areas with excess of phosphorus. Only grasses can grow there. So there are a lot of things. What I can tell you in one of the projects that we have in Good, it is a project that it tries to develop biostimulants. What they do is develop, make a soil analysis. Of course, we make cover crops with legumes. That's always. But the idea of this project is to select, to have a look to the amount of because the microbiome that you have in the soil, the most relevant ones that we know that not only can increase the nitrogen fixation, but also to establish mycorrhizae in the roots. And with this, we before sowing we make pelletization with it, and we seed it in the farm. The idea is because these microorganisms are very close to the specific seed. They will be introduced there inside, and they will facilitate the better use of the resources on the soil due to the enlargement of the roots caused by mycorrhizae, but also associated with the rhizobium and another type of microorganisms able to fix nitrogen that are already in place there, but maybe because they are not so concentrated, not available for the seeds that we are putting. So yes, there are a lot of aspects that are being studied, and this is considered as a way to reduce the use of herbicides in croplands. So and binders and apple orchards and so on. So there are a lot of research going on.
Excellent, Ross. Thank you very much. I appreciate very much your answer. Well, considering that you don't have any additional question, I would like to ask if you, Rosa, would like to address the last comment, and also ask to help of Kista to go into to conclude this section.
Thank you, Larissa.
Well, Kista, please, I will go to the ending. I would like to thank very much your support, and also to our attendees to this webinar, and particularly to Rosa for this brilliant presentation, and also to Hiral Golen, our co-chair of Cropland Research Group, and our GRA for this support and to maintain this very active agenda and so important and a priority to mankind of this subject that you are dealing today here. Thank you very much. The best for you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ladislau and Rosa. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you very much for attending.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.